scenes were filmed by Pathé News cameraman William Deek, and you are about to see the pictures he got when the ship exploded. Those aboard leaping for life from a flaming inferno, the actual crash of the Hindenburg, an airship destroyed in less than half a minute.
A series of catastrophes ended by a fashion show. Sinné thug an nathair Americánach Oscar Levant Nuachtscannán na pictiúrlainne. Cé go bhfuil cáine agus sciig airis dinta ar na Nuachtscannán, ní raibh aon bhealach eile ag a bobbal nuachta eicáil ar an scáileán sa chéad leag an iciú céad. Bhí an tan choracab agus an tóirarú.
Nuair leis an fochail sin Nuachtscannán aniu, an chéad rud a rihin lom ná star na tíre seo, star an céad cogad damhanda, star an dara cogad damhanda.
Níor mhar aon tionscail Nuachtscannán in Éireann, agus ba mhinic locht nuachta na Breataine nó Mheiriceá a freastal ar an locht féicheanna in Éireann.
Ar nó achirid le héan ionse staire eile cadú bheith cuaramach a deileá leo sé sin rá cén fágur bailí a seo seachas rud éigean eile. Cén cospóide bhí leis do daoine a bhailigean stop seo agus a léirigé.
Léiró an trá seo mar a phlé agurthirí Nuachtscannán leis na scéalta ba bhú in Éireann, ribh an neamhsplachas agus ina dhia. Ní a gúnaí a hic siad an réimse leathan díalteachtaí politiúla ag a locht féicheanna.
Republic, is it? Let them try and get Ulster into the Republic if they want to fight in their hands. Ulster's loyal to the King, God bless him.
Fisrófar na bailí éagsúla ar léire cólachtaí nuachta na Breataine an túisceart agus an deisceart. Agus an léirú eile ar fad a thug an cúpla Nuachtscannán dúchasach.
Bhí nuacht agus bhí beocht thar cuimse buint le nuair hangad ar amach. Bhain siad get as daoine.
By 1916, there was about 150 cinemas in Ireland. And the first cinema only opened in 1909 with James Joyce as the manager. That was the Volta on Mary Street. So you can see that actually the popularity of cinema, it was quite rapid.
Ar fud an domhan, thagach daoine le chéile I bluaiseannaí doracha, le fáil amach faoi chósaí sa bháile agus I géin ó scáileán ghealla freabacha. Bus an áit chéanna I decadís réaltaí móra Hollywood, agus ní ros na Nuachtscannán ach gné amháin eile go chláir leathan siamsaíochta.
Well, normally, audiences would come to go and see a main feature, but included within the programme was a newsreel, a travelogue, sometimes a cartoon and sometimes a B feature.
Na chéad scannán, actualities mar a tugu oró, léire siad an gná híal, agus ba mhór an tiantas pictiúra eicáil a boga. Ag an de thorca, ba dheargar a hen na dráireach a tháirgean, bí an rafadóirí, spéis an phobal sa technoliacht nua seo.
Yen lumie realities, no documentaries there. Nuair a cían túna Scannán sin, tá Éire cosúla aon áit eile in san British Empire. But leis na Scannán ó Hágans is na daoine féin atá ann. Sin oscailt an Sépéal Valley Vacoda, 1908.
Tá na sagairt agus na hard aspa go líonn sin.
Tá sé anna bhá. Tá an creidir bhán. Ní rah Sépéal ach Sépéal amháin in Scannán lumie. So the real thing a bhí ann is Scannán na Hágans ag an ó sin.
Right.
In díine teachta amach as Efran an Dánig. Tá sé an le lua fad bébal 1910.
Cuimh ag lám sin gran galar etsin gus áchtán agus bhí lán daoine fáil bháiste an galar sin. Bhí sé tábhachtach do na daoine áitiúla a muintir héin a bheith tefadaí bheith deanta orb. Agus dúin héin comás a labtá neomháin tá sé go hiantach bheith ná an fechan tír agus ar muintir a tháinig roin agus ceúir a dhéanana ar an éthe comá.
In 1907, Charles Pathé had the idea of stringing these single stories together into an issue. And that's what we know as the newsreel. So it's a programme of 6 to 8 stories that's shown on a regular basis. And the first one of them that was shown in Britain was Pathé's animated gazette, shown in 1910, and this continued, the newsreels continued for over 70 years, and the last one was released in 1979.
Bhí na chéad Nuachtscannán ceangailte go dlú le nuachtáin. Go deimhin, nuachtáin bheo a thugtaí ar a bardús. Chur na nuachtáin fíricí an scéal ar fáil. A thug na Nuachtscannán deis gan locht féchanna achtraí agus daoine cáiliúla a eicáil le na súla féin, agus íomháin na rathair mar léadú ar na fíricí. Go dtí na fichidí, bhí na Nuachtscannán tostach, agus idirhéidir le chur síos ar na daoine, na háiteanna, agus na himachtaí antú. Ba mhinic iad á dionlachan ag orgánaí na pictiúrlainne nó ceoltóirí eile. Chuir teacht na foiime áú mór ar na Nuachtscannán, agus tús le ré orga maidir le tóir an phobal orú.
Before, people would see the news and they would see moving images and they would see intertitles. And when sound came in, there was a heightened sense of reality. So their experience of the news was completely changed.
Gaumont British News now takes the opportunity of bringing patrons of this theatre a glimpse behind the scenes.
I think the equivalent now would be if you saw a news programme in 3D with sense around sound.
Standby projection.
The other thing that sound did was it gave newsreels their voice.
This is the Gaumont British News, presenting the world to the world.
Sa rank, áit tháinig an Nuachtscannán ar an síl, thugtaí sé suach d'image ar na cameradoirí nuachta, nó sealgairí pictiúr. Anna dealach go paparazzi an léon beidir. Ba amí cuaram ar a camrador nuachta, agus aber chraíoch go minic.
From the early days, there was a tradition of using one location for another location, and especially in wartime, it was very difficult to film in certain locations. So what you would film were regiments training, and then that was used in place of actual footage. It was faking it.
Le linn túris gur bhás Edward VII. Seans gur banú stanga as daoine géir chúiseacha a chonig an rí a marciacht ina hochrids féin. Curú na híomhána cartlainne seo ó hochrid a bháthir an bhainríon Victoria le rairc ó na hochrids féin. Threid agurthirí na Nuachtscannán nach dúrach an lacht féchan na clasannaí mar seo faoi deara.
They continued to fake it throughout the whole history of the newsreels. The footage was faked to help the story.
Ba ceann go na scéalta ba hábhachtaí sa tréimhse seo, agus grí méid ar haolaíocht an phobal ó chuin, ba an Titanic. Seo an Titanic in Nugget Thompson i méal feriste sal ar chuirsigh an bharige. Seo ha an tain fíor scanán gan long atá an, mar níor a aon spéis mhór ag locht nuachta inte go neacha sí faoi.
The Titanic was one of 3 ships built in Belfast. The main area of interest in the building programme was the original ship, which was the Olympic. So in fact, the Olympic was the ship that was most filmed and which there was most publicity about. The Titanic, by contrast, was filmed very little, and today there only seems to be one piece of surviving film of the Titanic. But in relationship to all the feature films that we've seen, that actual image may be authentic, but it's not like our imagined version of what the ship looked like.
Agus a laid sin scanán gan long le fáil, bhí ar locht nuachta íomhána a ra baint éigean acu leis an scéal a chur le chéile. Déir an tidir heidir go bheicemuid captain an Titanic ar an drehead, agus fecin. Níor rehead an Titanic atá sé áfach, ach ar rehead an Olympic. Íomhána de chric aid atá sa chuid eile an túrisc. Daoine a tháinig sláán. Gaolta a fannach le scéala ag eifig an White Star Line. I mír atá beagnach 7 númed ar ad, tá an long féin le feiceáil ar feadh níos lú ná númed.
Early newsreels often captured the aftermath of events rather than providing footage as the stories unfolded. This was because travel and equipment weren't as sophisticated as they are now. As a result, news editors tended to prioritise staged stories, so sporting fixtures, royal visits, because these were much easier to plan and coordinate in advance.
Agus tóir na líní ar na Nuachtscannán a gal méid, bhéide líon na ggólachtaí a bhí aine. Faoin na tríochadaí, déití Dintus Pathé, Gaumont, Universal, Paramount, Movietone agus eile a eicáil. Rineach na cólachtaí ábhar le chéile uaireantaí, ach ba bhuineadh iad ag ggéire scúpa a baint an láthair amach an tosa ar cholachtaí eile, nó a fáil túrisc eisiach.
For major sporting events, one newsreel would pay for the exclusive rights, and then the other 4 newsreels would try and pinch that story from them. A good example of that is the FA Cup final in 1923, and Pathé were trying to pinch it, and Jack Cotter, who was one of their cameramen, disguised himself as a West Ham fan and disguised his camera as a huge hammer and took it into the ground and filmed the story and pinched the story. And then Pathé made that news in itself.
Marilyn proves that there's nothing drab about GI slacks and shirt, depending on how you look at it, as she heads for her first performance.
Tá nuacht an léineo gafa leis na réaltaí móra cheapá. Ach tá méid céanna le feiceáil na Nuachtscannán is túisce, agus túriscí ar eisteoirí, ceoltóirí, lucht sport, agus rí-hailech na Breataine mar bhain chuidtíobh.
That boy, Marilyn must come and go, and Korea for the GIs can never be the same. Things are warming up for the baby boxing championships at Annapolis, and there's nothing like a little hero worship before going in to do or cry, die.
An grí chéana, ba nóslób mír éitrom at a chud I ndeire gach agran.
So what? So take that, man, that!
In the old days, they said that a newsreel was just fads, football and fashion. But basically, it covered sport, royalty, ceremonials of all descriptions, so launchings, openings of buildings, but also those fads and fancies, so inventions.
Why carry a bag of golf clubs around when you can have one that varies between a driver and a niblick?
Here goes 18-year-old Tauro Luiro of Finland.
Records, the highest, the longest, the fastest.
456 feet. That's 13 feet better than Netzel and the record smashed.
All of those made up a 10-minute drama, which we know as a newsreel.
Near Washington, they're experimenting with an entirely new type of house, the balloon house. It's revolutionary, not only in type, but in the time it takes to build.
Agus an lerid sin áde acabar ábhar fánach, cara an nuacht cháríide. Is beag áit bhí fácaigh an folitiacht is cosúil, agus na hagarthirí fachialach maidir le cuasaí an lei.
The newsreels were shown in places of entertainment, and cinema exhibitors did not want their patrons upset, offended or bored on their evening out. And they often wanted to avoid controversy so as not to offend anyone.
When the cabinet meets on a Saturday, it's news. Or not since the abdication have ministers been called over the weekend.
So the newsreels dealt with politics with a light touch. In terms of dealing with politics in Ireland, this was much more complicated for the newsreels.
Tháinig áru ó bhain ar híal na héireann a dús an ichiú céad. Hachan na Nuachtscannán conspóid, agus ba mhór an dúchláin tuairt faoi folitiacht chasta na héireann. Ba gnáilób tíomhú leis an Breataine, agus cuasaí a chud as a rucht, nó a léirú ar bhealach fíor chunspóideach. Le linn tréimhse chorach chráite is stair na héireann a dás na Nuachtscannán. Ach na chéad zemlí an na díomh, tharla conspóid an rialtas dúchais, an cog amór, éirí amach na cásca, agus cá an sam. Agus na Roaring Twenties a réba leo America, bhí cogan na Saoirse, agus an cog a cathartha, a réba leo in Éireann.
For the second time within a few weeks, Ireland's Prime Minister Éamon de Valera comes to London for conversations with British ministers.
Sna tríochadí, agus na Nuachtscannán I mar a réime, bhí de Valera ag ghearr éire nu a bhúnlú. Neamhsplach a gúrsaí acnameachta agus cultúr.
The Germans respect nothing. Latest evidence of this is their bombing of neutral Éire.
Bhí ceann go na dúthán bhú fós le sáú ag na Nuachtscannán sa dara coga damda. A túristú neodrocht an stáit ó Yas, agus páirt an tuiscirt sa haga.
Without hesitation, the people of Ulster declared their loyalty to the cause of the United Kingdom and of European freedom.
Is léad an stair nach rud siimplí ar chorba an nuacht. Agus I daca le héireann gur anamh an Éireann ag lán le fáil inte.
On the one hand, Ireland has been seen as a simple rural paradise. The other prevailing screen image has been one of a dark, strife-stormed country, one that's riven by social division, political conflict, and, of course, violence. The south has been much more associated with images of the countryside.
In many ways, the Irish peasants, sharing their cottage with the pig, living on potatoes, are freer than the English artisan. The Irish outlook is always less material.
And sometimes that has also been linked to an image of the primitive, the backward, the underdeveloped.
Belfast is the most important manufacturing centre of the linen trade in the whole world.
By contrast, Northern Ireland, and Belfast in particular, has been associated with the city, with industry.
Thiocach na léirithe éagsúla seo ar thuisceart is deisceart chun cíns na Nuachtscannán. Nuachtscannán na Breataine a bhí le feiceáil in Éireann. Ba anamh iad an dhéanamh sa tír féin. Mar sin, chonaic an locht féchanna in Éireann Nuachtscannán a ra blas cólí na Harb. Hiag na cólachtaí Nuachtscannán gur tóir ar scéalta áitiúla ar fud na riachta aontaithe. Agus thosa siad a chur agrán áitiúla amach, agus scéal na róanta ba bháin le cathair ar le. Cabhrúr, ba I seall bhéal feriste na bhaile á clia é.
So often exhibitors would get in touch with the newsreel company and say, we have a local event, can you send a cameraman up to go and film it? And this was so that people could see themselves or their friends or their community on the big screen in a glamorous setting.
Glacú leis go mbeadh tóir ar scéalta riaga sa tuisceart agus é na cheantar láidir aontachtach. Níor hiag na cólachtaí Nuachtscannán áfach gur réimse díolseachtaí agus tuairimí éagsúla a bhí le fáil sa locht féchanna ó thua. Hiag siad go deilear go méidir nachneire chomach chéanna leis scéalta riaga ó Yas, agus uaireanta chuirtí míran na spórt ina náit in agrán an deisceart.
Na lua fihéidí, bhí beidir 5,000 daoine ag freastal ar cluiche ceannas na hÉireann. Nar bhainimiid níd ag crocht amach tá 7,000 ag freastal. Ré orga na Nuachtscannán na fihéidí ag na trochadí, bé sin ré orga fás an sport, codí siad le chéile.
Agus iad a catha leis na héireannaí mar chinne faoi le. Chuir na clufií Gaeilgeacha marúil ar na Nuachtscannán.
Now, there'll be some ignoramuses that'll be asking, what is this game? Is it association or rugby? Well, it could be the one or the other, if it wasn't both. And sure...
A gcónaí bheadh tagartí an na réalaithe aisteatha, agus bhí lán tagartí an de Oregon agus Tridanna, agus ní a bhhain na himróirí, ach an locht féchanna, ní raibh siad abalta smacht a chur ar a maithán féin. Agus is dótha gur chudí sé sin or gur hacaí sé sin le stereotypanna de na hÉireannaí.
New Yorkers have treated to that comparatively rare sport, Gaelic football. I'm afraid I'm not competent to explain all the niceties of the game, but you'll observe that players use their hands as well as their feet. This is done in rugger, of course, but not in quite the same way.
Níor éirí lob na scóra na all níor éirí lob mór ann ó thaobh na actorí tábhachtach a chur ar Scannán. Bhí siad ag caint faoi clubanna seachas condaithe agus ar eile. Tá tábhacht lob mar go minic níl le fáil ar Scannán ar faisin ón tréimhte sin duna himróirí agus a leithéid ach na Nuachtscannán.
The men from Cavan are already piling up the points, and after a little sparring, wade in again, trying for a knockout. It seems that in Gaelic football you can go on playing after the gong is gone.
Here's the parade. Galway are nearest to the camera.
Deireadh mar a haoilítí an rí-hailech leis an aontachtachas ó thuas na Nuachtscannán, haoilítí an caitlicachas leis an náisiúnachas ó Dheas. Agus íbána den chléir ar imeachtaí sport is parádí Adam le feiceáil.
The tussle is between Tipperary and Kilkenny.
In Ireland, religious faith is no mere convention, for deep in the Celtic nature is a hunger for the things of the spirit.
Bhí an aglas caitlicach in áras ar na Scannán. Chur Nuachtscannán na Breataine féin hinseoireacht a bhaim. In Éire, bhí arab ghlacha le moltaí sonracha an ginseire freisin, faoi ionál an cheangal idir aglas agus stát go minic.
The censors themselves, when you step back from political events, that they were concerned within newsreel films with items as different as banning wrestling in newsreels in the 1930s.
Now watch closely, and you'll see O'Mahony catch the Indian with a flying body scissors and pin him for the victory.
Beauty pageants, which were not permitted at all, these sort of semi-nude displays, as the censor would describe them, of young women parading before the camera, were completely forbidden.
Church and state join in doing honour to the occasion.
And also a further stricture was that the Archbishop of Dublin, at that time Archbishop Walsh, but followed by Archbishop McQuaid in 1941, had essentially ordered through their representative on the Film Appeals Board that no sacrament should be displayed on the cinema screen.
And so a new industry steps out of the laboratory into the limelight as television makes its bow to the American public. Where it will go from here is any man's guess.
Faoin na chuigadaí, ba dhheacar go na Nuachtscannán thola nóíocht le nuacht láireach na telefíse, agus hep ar go leorach roimh bhád. Cibé faibanna a bhaineann leis na Nuachtscannán is cápéisí sóisialta tábhachtacha iad, agus dearcaí is nósanna na linne le feiceáil iontu. Thuspáin siad íomhána de mhór scéalta an lé an locht féchanna, agus tugann siad léargas luachhar ar an stair roinne.
The eyes of all Ireland centred upon Clonmel, where 8,000 people massed to hear De Valera's dynamic opponent, the leader of the United Ireland Party, General O'Duffy.
Is cinnte gur féidir le stairthe úsáid a bhaint as Nuachtscannán.
I must apologize to you for having to read my speech. I have to appear in the dock on next Tuesday, and I must be very careful that I am not taken up by some local secretary of Fianna Fáil for contempt of court.
Tugann siad léargas uaireanta ar freasantochtaí na bríomhcharachtar sa stair. In háanta san uaireanta tugann siad léargas ar iompar an tlua ar ócáidí agsúla. Agus gan áras tá sé samúil an siomh inar hála nithe áirithe éiscin chomá.
Deireadh agus na Nuachtscannán á gur ar bun, thug siad ar cheangan na dúchlampa bhú riamh. Géir chéim an rialtas dúchais, agus na heachtarí a phléascach roimh go mór is ina dhé. Mar a eicas muid a machchan seo. Ag tuairisciú scéalta na tíre, agus ag freastal ar winter na tíre, leag siad síos múnla gan chuí a bhfuil éire á léirú sa nuacht ó chuine le.